Good evening, everybody. Coming up on 10:30 right now. Hope you're having a great evening, enjoying the fantastic weather that we have across the southeast right now. A cold front came through, and in August, you can't really hope for much more than what we have right now because, it's still summertime. But meteorological fall just about 2 weeks away. September 1st will be the first day of fall for us in the weather world, and that's statistically when temperatures begin to go down. And we're going to start to see those cold fronts pack a little bit more of a punch. You'll start to notice cooler nights taking shape within the next 3 weeks. It's still going to be plenty hot in the afternoons. But we have a lot to track here tonight, including a double threat brewing in both the Atlantic and the tropics, as in the Pacific, as both are beginning to come alive. The Atlantic season nearing peak, and we are likely to blow through some names in the coming days as we're going to see activity become a lot more plentiful. So let's get right into it right now and show you what's going on. Southeast enjoying a cooler, calmer wind out of the northwest. And temperatures right now are in the lower 70s. In fact, we're going to wake up to some fantastic weather tomorrow morning. This morning, it felt comfortable across the upstate, even crisp in the mountains in the 50s. I think we'll do it again tonight. In fact, at the higher elevations right now, it's already in the 50s, above 5,000 feet in elevation. Tomorrow morning in areas like Spartanburg, you'll wake up to the mid-60s. So nothing to write home about, but certainly comfortable, especially when you factor in the lower humidity. In areas like Asheville, down to 60 or so, it's going to be a comfortable night. We have a lot to track, though, in the weather world, especially when it comes to tropics. In fact, what could be kind of a dire situation for California. Let me show you what I'm watching right now. Hilary is beginning to get extremely strong. It's expected to become a major hurricane. It weakens as it approaches California, but if it maintains tropical strength, it could be the first tropical system to make landfall in California since 1939. Our models are trying to get a handle on this, but frankly, we don't have a lot of examples to look back at in modern technology history to kind of compare this to. It's abnormal, to say the least. A Gulf system could also form and impact the United States as we move into next week, and many named storms are ahead. I see multiple low-pressure systems or areas that will likely be forming in the Atlantic in the coming week to 10 days. We're likely to blow through at least 3 or 4 names. Let's start with Hilary. It is an impressive looking system, and just tonight, a lot of that convection getting wrapped into the center there. It's a tropical storm set to become a major Category 3 hurricane, moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. Let me show you the latest track from the National Hurricane Center. It shows it approaching Mexico as a Category 3 hurricane. It goes into some wind shear where it likely weakens to a Category 1 hurricane on approach to some landfall here near Tijuana. I have to watch that closely. And then going toward California, it looks like it disorganizes out of a tropical system, maybe into a depression or just a regular old low, but need to watch it because whether it's a named tropical system or not, it looks like we're going to get some wind and rain in California, of which they're not used to and of which they really don't need right now, okay? Let me show you what we're watching out of this activity because of the two of them, we need to watch them closely here. I'm going to pull up this model and show you a couple of different things with this, including wind and rain out of both of these. So our latest computer model, the European, shows a very strong hurricane moving toward the north over the next couple of days, to where by the weekend we're likely looking at a major Category 3 hurricane off the coast of Mexico. Look what happens as it begins to move north, still intact as it approaches California here, and it's still a very strong storm at the very least early next week, to where you start to get some heavy rainfall and some strong winds to move into areas like LA. And you got some high terrain here. And think about it, folks. This area dealt with extreme flooding after years of extreme drought. So this area is certainly no stranger in California to significant weather. And you've got a lot of wildfire scars over there, to where this rain falls on wildfire scars, it's just going to run right off. There's not vegetation there to kind of absorb, slow down, create friction. to slow that process. So we could have some flooding and significant flooding possible in parts of California. This will need to be watched. Any kind of slowdown with this system could lead to that flooding. And here you are. Look at that. From San Francisco to L.A., you've got winds that are around 45 to 50 miles per hour, and you've got days of rain, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Thankfully, it gets going into Tuesday late, but that's at least 24 to 36 hours of torrential rain in that location. Let me show you what the wind speeds look like this. Let me switch up the model here as we move forward. Looking specifically at the wind with this, as this moves into those areas, we need to watch that very closely. The rainfall totals with this, there's a pretty big swath of heavy rainfall moving just west of Mexico. Thankfully, it's just offshore. But look at this rain as it trails in here. We could see 4+ inches of rain in and around LA, and then moving up towards San Francisco there. Again, needs to be watched closely. The wind with this, just off the charts. I mean, you're talking 120, 130, 140 as it approaches California there, and thankfully it begins to disorganize as it gets closer. But just offshore, we're talking about some significant waves. Winds in excess of 60, 70 miles per hour, and then it comes on shore there where we get some wind immediately along the coast as it moves toward the north. All right, that is system number 1. Let's look out into the Gulf because this is closer to home for us in the southeast. We've got an active pattern. I've been highlighting this area all week as an area we need to watch. I started seeing some signals in the models Sunday, Monday, and sure enough, the National Hurricane Center has indeed put a low hatched mark area right there in the Gulf. Not for anything that's actually on the surface right now. There's nothing to watch right in here. It's actually quite nice right now. There's some storms over Florida with a big slug of moisture. But as we move forward, there's going to be a wave that moves into the Gulf. It's not even formed yet. So once it does, it could become a named tropical system. Right now, it's a low chance, but this is a 7-day outlook. This gets us to next Tuesday, Wednesday, and it could be beyond that we actually get a named storm. We also have 2 areas out here in the medium risk. In fact, we now have an invest. Both of these are moving and battling into dry air. But I'll tell you, there's a couple of different waves here. There's one right here, there's one right here, and there's another one right here. That's an invest. That's likely to become a named tropical system very shortly. But what's happening here out of these is you're seeing these storm systems move into areas that feature dry air. So this is like a renegade. This is your blocker if you're thinking about this. Going into football season, this is like a blocker running out ahead of somebody and kind of eroding away at this dry air so that these guys actually have a chance. So this is eroding away at the Saharan dust that's in this area, and that could open the door or the floodgates, so to speak, for more pieces of energy to roll off the coast of Africa deeper into the Atlantic. All right. Let me show you Tropical Wave Invest 98L. It's one of the first invests we've had in a while. It's near the Cape Verde Islands, and it's got quite a bit of rain and moisture around it, just not very organized. Winds are sustained at 30 miles per hour. It's moving west-northwest at 15 miles per hour. This will need to be watched, but thankfully, the one model and that gives us the spaghetti models and the others that kind of back it up, the global models, are not showing a threat in the United States. This should stay out to sea. But again, this is kind of eroding away at the significant dry air that we do have in place. So looking at that, there's the rainfall totals for both of these storm systems. As we look closely at what could form in the Gulf, this needs to be watched. It does not look to impact us in the Carolinas, but regardless of whether it becomes a named tropical system, we could have some pretty significant rain from New Orleans back through Texas into central Texas, including Dallas. Outskirts could see quite a bit of rainfall here. Wouldn't necessarily be a bad thing for Texas as they're in a significant drought right now. However, when you go from a significant drought to a lot of rain all at once, that can lead to problems. And I've been highlighting this area in the Caribbean and the Gulf for a particular reason. The heat energy here in the Gulf and the Caribbean just off the charts. And it may not be the only system we're watching. Let me show you the European. It's got at least 2 named storm systems for us by Saturday here in the Atlantic, maybe even a third back here. Then you have our wave here that's entering the Gulf. That's what's yet to form yet, but will. Notice how these models, as you see the brighter colors, that spin in the atmosphere, move west. Very likely we do get a tropical depression, maybe even a tropical storm out of this in the Gulf. Again, it's moving into very warm waters. Here comes another system we need to watch, and another one back here. Likely to stay out to sea with this one as it curves around Bermuda, but I don't like how close this one is to the Lesser Antilles. Need to watch that as it gets closer to the Caribbean islands. Right now it looks to skirt just north, but again, I just don't like how close this gets to Puerto Rico and the Lesser Antilles. And look at this. We're here a Thursday, a week and a day from now, 8 days from now. You got a couple of different waves here entering the Gulf. And you've got this here in the Atlantic. Let's go a little bit deeper into the future. Yikes. Again, got to watch these waves as we move forward. A couple of threats closer to home could be something to watch within the next week to 10 days. And again, I just blew through 10 days of model data, and you saw at least 4 or 5 named tropical systems, and at least 2 or 3 of them become at least close to the United States. So we're entering a period here where you need to stay dialed in if you have interest along the coast or even here in the Western Carolinas because we can be impacted by them. And here we are, a couple of named systems in and around Bermuda. That's likely the one we're looking at now. Here comes another stout wave off the coast of Africa. Here we are Tuesday, the new GFS showing a wave, maybe a low-end tropical system, but not much showing up in the models there. But here we are next Thursday. It could just be slow with that wave. And that does look like a tropical system moving into South Texas or Mexico. Got a weaker wave back here than the European had. It's got another one here near the Cape Verde Islands. Let's watch one more frame forward. We've got another wave over the Yucatan Peninsula. So it's the 7 to 10 day time frame that we're going to have some waves begin to form. And why does it concern me? Well, the sea surface temperatures in the Atlantic right now just boiling. We've had very dominant high pressure ridges over the Gulf and the Caribbean to where it's been fantastic beach weather, but it's also led to significantly warmer than average sea surface temperatures to where, given ideal conditions above the storms, if there's wind shear, it's not going to form, but given ideal conditions up above, sky's the limit with these storms if they get into those areas because the water is just so warm. And again, I'll show you that heat fuel. Again, this does not assume what's going on above these storms, but certainly gives you a look at what could form down at the surface with the right heat energy. So that's what's boiling up right now. I will keep you posted. Of course, if you can, share this with your family and friends and let them know what's going on. That time of the season where we need to stay dialed in and watch it closely. But no imminent threats, nothing to kind of be too concerned about. When that happens, of course, I'll let you know. My philosophy here is to keep you up to date with what's going on. I'll be very transparent in my forecast. When you need to worry, I'll tell you it's time to worry. But I don't want to hype anything. I will not hype anything. I'll just give it to you, shoot you straight, as you will.